Welcome back to the City Current Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And we love having speakers and authors and individuals with a powerful purpose coming on the show. In this case, we're honored to have with us Traci Schubert Barrett. She's the president and founder of Navigate the Journey. Her book is What If There's More? Finding Significance Beyond Success. She's a speaker. HGTV is a part of her storyline, but let's go ahead and dive in. How are you doing?
Great. Excited to be here. Thanks, Jeremy.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to unpack with you, including the power of purpose, and we'll talk all about that. But let's start with a little bit of your backstory. Give us some of your kind of backstory on your end tied to HGTV.
Yeah. So I have had a pretty blessed career as it goes. And in the early 90s, when cable was taking off, I really wanted to get into cable television. I was doing kind of broadcast TV, and it was like the wave of the future back then, kind of like the internet now. And so I heard about a small, startup, like it was just an idea. It wasn't on television yet, and was hired to be part of just a small group of people that really wanted to see if they could get a television network off the ground. And we knew it was going to be all home and garden type programming. There was nothing on cable at the time like that. And so, we were just a scrappy group of entrepreneurs and eager to see. And, it was the best training ground for me as an entrepreneur. It wasn't an easy feat. The time that we launched at the end of 94, beginning of 95, there were 25 other cable networks that launched at the same time, and only 2 survived. So I think that's really interesting for other business owners and entrepreneurs to hear, because they realize, like, even starting a $1 billion media company, you have to start somewhere, And so for us, it was exciting and it was scrappy. And I, learned a lot about starting a business. I learned a lot about mission and vision and core values and staying true to a brand. And, we didn't know it was going to take off and become what it became. We had that hope and that vision for that, but it was the most exciting ride. It was like watching your child grow up, and it has turned into something I'm really proud of. I'm proud to have been a part of that, and was there for almost 20 years. So 2 decades of my life. That's how much I loved it and loved the people that worked there. So it was just a great journey.
Give me something. It's hard to distill, obviously, when you talk about that time period into small moments, but give me a moment, either, a lesson learned or a favorite moment that kind of stands out in your mind, a happy moment. What's something during that time period that has helped refine you?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I think for me, building a team, part of being a startup, you are building something from the ground up, and you're given responsibility probably beyond your capability at the time. So I think for me, I learned very early on that I needed to find mentors. I needed to find people further down the road that I admired, that I knew could teach me and mold me and hold me accountable. And so I looked around me and I found, a couple, but one very key mentor within the company who was, basically in charge of creating all the programming. And I just gravitated towards him and I said, I want to walk alongside you. And, for almost 20 years that I was there, he was my sounding board. And there were other, I can think of 2 other women, just people that I sought out and spoke into my life. And every time that happened, or they, held me accountable or helped me reset my mindset or taught me something important about leadership, I realized the power of mentorship, the power of making yourself, allowing yourself to be vulnerable and allowing yourself to be open to being, spoken into. And I think for me, if I were to pull one thing out, there were lots of glamorous, wonderful, standing on stage, speaking in front of, hundreds and hundreds of people moments, hanging out with great talent. And there's some amazing people that you see on air that are just as amazing behind the scenes. But I think I would just pull out those small moments that happen in between two people where you're learning and growing, but you have to allow yourself that. You have to seek those out. And so when I'm talking to leaders today, I just say, don't underestimate what you can learn and how you can grow each day at work, And so for me, those were the most powerful memories I have of being there.
Was there ever a time where it kind of flipped in your mind and you said, we've actually done this? Like it's real. It's happened. We've actually like accomplished, what we set out to do in terms of making this go live. Was there ever that like moment in your mind of like, hey, we actually did this?
Yeah. With cable television, it's all about how many homes you're in. So, you start out, you're only like in 10 million homes, but there's 100 million homes you're trying to get to. So you're constantly trying to get on as many cable operators as you can. And so in the beginning, when I'm telling people where I work, like friends or family, people are like, I don't know what that is. They'd never heard of it before. And I can remember, the first time where I told somebody where I worked and they were like, I love that network, and it was like, oh, it exists. Like that was like such a turning point to actually meet somebody who watched it and knew what I was talking about after those, first initial years of people not understanding what I was saying. And so, it's hard for people to imagine today that I told somebody I worked at HGTV and they had no clue what it was, because now it has permeated American culture. But I can remember that day and just smiling and being like, we're going to do this. Like, this is going to make it. And the excitement around that and just kind of the boost it gave me. So, yeah.
I love it. Well, let's take that energy into what's going on currently. And so talk about navigate the journey.
Yeah. So, it was a journey to get to navigate the journey. I think, what happened probably shortly after my 40th birthday, I was at HGTV, loving every second of it, up until that point. But, there were a couple of years at the end there where I was starting to feel super restless. I was starting to feel like I've been here for a really long time. Should I stay? Should I, as I look to the future, kind of hit that 40 midlife, mid-career crossroads. And a lot of people I've come to find have those same questions. They say, is this what I want to keep doing? I fell into it after college. I just don't know. And then I also was asking myself, like, what is my identity outside HGTV? Like, everybody knows me and I've almost become intertwined with this brand. People know me as this brand. So who am I outside of that? What are, the things that I want to do with the rest of my life? And I had a lot of trouble answering those questions because I was a busy executive flying everywhere, kids at home, my husband had a demanding job. And so it was hard for me to figure out, how do you answer these questions? And so I just up and quit, which I think was really surprising to my bosses at HGTV, to my family, to my friends. People like, what are you doing? You just gave up your dream job. And I was like, yeah, I know, but I had that dream job. I built that career for 2 decades. I'm kind of ready to just explore what's on the other side. And I know it seems silly and stupid, but I have come to realize that when you want to build a meaningful life, or you want to figure out how to lean into the second half of your life, you have to have the courage and honesty to name what your priorities are. And I decided I was going to name what my priorities are and figure out what aligned with those priorities. And so, I left, I did a lot of soul searching. And I talk a lot about this journey in my book, from building HGTV to having this moment to what came on the other side. And, when I left, people started reaching out to me. I have my master's in professional psychology. And so I started, even HGTV had reached back out and said, can you do some coaching? Can you do some leadership development? And that kind of happened organically. And then my husband is kind of this master strategic planner. He helps companies scale their business. And so we joined forces and decided, like, hey, what if we started something together, and something we own and something we build, and, take that all the entrepreneurial spirit and knowledge that we have and launch a company, and have it be based on, what we believe is purpose driven, what we believe, can really help people have meaningful work, build meaningful companies, build healthy teams that are driven by purpose as opposed to just profit. And so we built our company one client at a time. We just started, so small and built it up. And now it's been almost 10 years that we've had this company, and we're so proud of it. And, we really have enjoyed this phase of our life. It's almost like we're paying it forward, everything that we've experienced in the first half of our career, and now taking that knowledge and paying it forward and trying to sort of be the wind beneath, companies' wings and teams' wings. And then for me, my focus is really helping individuals understand, take a pause and name those priorities and design a life that is going to be purpose driven and going to help them find meaningful work. And we know, post pandemic and the research shows there are a lot of people that are lonely out there, that are lost, that the hustle culture hasn't worked out for them. And so people are searching for these answers.
Part of it is you have a strategic life map academy that goes with that. So dive in deep on there.
Yeah. In the book, I talk about the framework of building a strategic life map. And basically what I did was all those questions I was wrestling with. My book is called What If There's More? Because that was the question I kept asking when I was at HGTV, like, what if there's more out there? And I'm just not experiencing it because I'm staying where I'm safe and comfortable. And, what if I became uncomfortable? And what if I took a risk and took a pause and, figured those questions out? And so I captured that into a framework. And in the book, I talk about how do we answer these pressing questions and how can you do it in a healthy way that you're going to gain as much perspective before you just jump into planning for the future. And so I had so many people after reading the book that were like, are you going to make this a course, or how do you, and I do meet with clients one-on-one, and I have for years, helping them create this strategic life map. But I was like, I want this to help as many people as possible. And I'm just one person. So what if I created something where everybody could have access to it? It's more accessible, more affordable, and people can experience this transformation in the comfort of their own home, because you're doing some pretty heavy thought work. And so I just love how it's turned out. It's just beautiful. And, it's me teaching and beautiful workbooks and exercises and tools and techniques. And I just feel my hope is really it will meet people where they are, and that they can learn how to, remedy the self-limiting patterns they have from their past, understand more fully who they are today, because it's really hard to create a meaningful life when you don't know what's meaningful to you. And so we do that work of you're very different than what you were at 22. Who are you now? And what are your unique gifts and talents? And I believe everybody is uniquely designed, that we're as unique on the inside as our fingerprint on the outside. And so we really help people figure that out, create a compass for their life, and then go into planning, so you do all the hard work up front and really have that deep understanding. You can define what's meaningful for you and then create the meaningful life or the meaningful company, or, whatever it is that you want to do moving forward. And, I feel like we've been so driven by just kind of the culture's definition of success, like money and title and power and fame, especially fame today. How many likes and followers and platforms? Can we let go of being driven by that? There's nothing wrong with those things, but it's when we're driven by those things that we get off track. Can we be driven by something more pure, pure ambitions, right? That challenge us to turn our talents into purpose and our careers into calling, and so that's why it shifted to significance instead of success.
Yeah, and I love that in terms of what's the root of what is driving you and your purpose. So obviously we want people to buy the book, but give us one either teaser around like a technique or, something in terms of like a question of where it starts. So, I mean, give us kind of a little teaser from the book in terms of, a little tip or technique or recommendation.
There's a lot of questions in the book, and there's a lot of, reflection in there. And, one of the key questions I'm asking people to answer is, why do you exist? Why do you exist? And that's a huge question for people. And we have, basically a 4-step process to answer that question. And it's really defining your purpose by understanding what your unique talents are, what your core values are, and what your current passions are. And so, going through that process, and it's actually in the book. So it's, if you want to go through it in the book, but you're asking yourself these questions, how am I uniquely designed? What's different? What's my point of difference? And believing in that, what are the things I value? What are my non-negotiables in life? And then what am I driven to? Like, where is my passion? Where's my heart? And adding those together as if it's a formula to then be able to create a purpose statement. And so that's kind of my secret sauce there for everybody to hear, that's the formula. And when you follow that formula, you can create a purpose statement that from there, you can really start to build vision and action steps out of.
Yeah, I love it. The book again is What If There's More? Finding Significance Beyond Success. And so where do we get the book? Talk about where we get the book, and also too, how can we follow your efforts? So website, social media, where do we go?
Yeah, thank you. So you can go to tracischubertbarrett.com and you'll see all the information about the book there. Obviously, it's available anywhere, but you can click on all the links there if you want to purchase it. And then there will be more information about Strategic Life Map Academy, which is great, or anything else you want to learn or hear about me. You can follow me on Instagram at Traci S. Barrett. And I love sort of putting some inspiration on there and trying to help people connect more fully with who they are. So, or if you want to learn more about Navigate the Journey, very easy, navigatethejourney.com.
You make it simple. So navigatethejourney.com, tracischubertbarrett.com, both easy websites. So Traci, thank you for all you do. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it.